I mean, a black widow bite is some serious shit.
It's no joke.
I used to work with black widows, as you know.
Yeah.
And the guy who sold us our black widow spiders in my lab was once on an episode of Dirty Jobs.
You told this story on the podcast.
I've told it on the podcast. When we talked about Annie getting bitten.
You bet.
Before. All right, yeah.
Seedy Shots.
I was just going to say that the people who bred the spiders, had been bitten many times.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
And described it as being extremely painful.
Yeah.
It feels like your bones are breaking and twisting. I remember one of them saying.
Yeah, that sounds like that sucks.
There's also this classic paper where a guy, because this is how science used to be. Maybe this is a better anecdote even than if I haven't told this one. There's a guy who did science the way we used to do science, which is
experimenting on yourself.
That's right. And so he grabbed a black widow spider, made it bite him, and then he wrote hourly journal entries until he was too incapacitated to do so, describing the sensations he was experiencing.
Oh, wow.
And then there's like a 3 or 4 day gap in the record where he was too sick and delirious to write anything.
Yeah.
And then he, comes back online.
Wow. But I was listening to NPR today and they were doing a program on chimeras. And there's like a really interesting program I've mentioned.
Say what a chimera is.
Yeah, well, I mean, like in ancient mythology or something, it would be like something that had the head of a donkey and the body of an octopus or something. I don't know.
I think it's a specific thing, actually.
Is it?
I think, yeah, we've generalized it to mean any two animals, but I think it's a specific combination of two animals.
Oh, I should look up what that is. Lion with the head of a goat and a tail that often ends in a snake's head, I guess, is the classic depiction of it. But in this, this is a pretty wild radio listening experience. There was a woman who needed a kidney transplant. Her children went in to, see if they could be successful donors and whatever. And they took their DNA and it came back that they were not her children. But they were the father's children.
Right.
So there wasn't like a mix up in the nursery or something, like DNA wise, they were the father's children, but not her children. She was like, I feel like I remember having birthed these kids. But I guess it turns out like in the womb, in the, first couple days, in the same way that people might become conjoined twins, like if that process continues even beyond that, then you have both of your twins inside of you, where like, I guess her blood was one DNA profile and like some of her organs were a different DNA profile.
Yeah, there are a few sort of famous cases of this where, maybe your gametes have a completely different genome than you do. So
wild.
But conjoined twins result when two different body axes are induced later in development.
Okay, yeah, I wondered if you might know a lot about this because it's sort of what you do.
But chimeras usually result when really early embryos that are still basically unpatterned clusters of cells get mooshed together.
Okay.
But conjoined twins happen from one genetic individual that then during the process where you develop axial polarity, so you start to have a front and a back and a top and a bottom, you end up with two of each of those.
Okay. The whole reason I went on this extremely far afield tangent is because also in this episode of radio, there was like a Princeton professor who works on this stuff who was on there giving an interview. And he once had like an undergrad approach him after class after he was talking about this shit, I guess, and wanted to, as her senior thesis, try to carry a chimp to term.
Well, this is a wild episode of what is this?
I don't even know what I was listening to, but she wanted to carry a chimp's embryo to term. he told her, no, you can't do that for like a pretty much huge amount of reasons. But anyway, I was just thinking about people experimenting on themselves. The idea that like a 22-year-old Princeton undergrad would be like, it seems like a good senior thesis.
Seedy Shots.